Greetings and welcome. Kind of hard to say yet if we are live. Gosh, it is so technically complicated some mornings. As you come on, if I am indeed live, please type a 29 into a chat or shoot some emojis, share some love. Welcome to SEM Mondays Live, my weekly open Q&A show on YouTube. And gosh, if you've been following me for any length of time, I hope by now you know that I am to continue to support you during this health crisis, during this pandemic. I am continuing to offer a group energy healing session as part of SEM Mondays. So very excited to have the opportunity to connect with you. I'm eager to see what questions you have for me today. I don't have a whole lot of questions. Actually, I don't think I have any questions that came in that were not unanswered recently. So it's always cool for me, I think the Source Energy Medicine Quick Start Guide, the free mini course in Source Energy Medicine, I think it's very, very thorough, very complete. And for most folks, if they watch all the videos, you get your questions answered. And yet, I created SEM Mondays so that folks who are relatively new to Source Energy Medicine can get the questions to your answers as fast as possible. And for folks who have been around Source Energy Medicine for a while and perhaps are in a stuck place or need support in some way or are looking for their next step. So if you don't already know, there's an energy healing component that's within Source Energy Medicine. It's known as the non-material aspect of Source Energy Medicine. There's a video on our YouTube channel where I explain it. There's a video in the Quick Start Guide as well. So if you're not familiar with it, when we're done here, search on Google or YouTube, Source Energy Medicine and energy healing, or more specifically, it's called the non-material aspect of Source Energy Medicine. Odd name on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a perfect name because there's no material substance. There's no charging labels. There's no water. There's nothing physical, so it's completely nothing material, so it's completely non-material. Simply energy work, which I experience as unconditional love, which I don't know about what you folks are experiencing these days, but it seems like the level of stress and fear and traumas in a lot of ways, high levels of anxiety by a lot of people. So to me, it's very comforting knowing that that we have this place to gather in community, virtual community, all from the safety of our own homes or offices, and have a time to join together in community, focus a bit on health and well-being, self-healing, and create an opportunity to create something different, right? Something peaceful, something positive, constructive. So thank you for the cool emojis and the kind words. Thank you, Amana and Fifth Wheel from Victoria. That's awesome. Must be my friend Franco and Marina, my friends Franco. They're non-material Source Energy Medicine practitioners. So first few minutes will be totally open Q&A for you folks. And then if there, as I said, I don't have any questions that have come in that weren't already, weren't able to redirect people to other videos for easy answers and in-depth answers. So I'll entertain questions from folks who are live, and then we'll segue into the energy healing session. And while we're going through the Q&A, I really strongly encourage you to think about what it is that you would like to focus on, what you would like to receive, what you would like to experience during the energy healing. I always like to focus on one single goal or one single challenge. And the reason why I say that is because most people have more than one goal or more than one challenge. And if you just lump them all together, it's hard to say what's working, what's not, where progress is being made in terms of tangible, measurable results. So if you focus on one goal or one challenge, then it's much, much, much easier to keep track of what's happening, what's unfolding for you. And the cool thing is, whether you're watching this with me live or in replay or 10 years from now, the you can choose a different goal or a different challenge each time you revisit it. And there's certainly, I think, massive benefit to watching this, experiencing at least the energy healing segment of this more than one time. And my comment comes from feedback from folks who have done that, have experienced that. And so that said, let me just check the chat here real quick and see if there are questions. Amanda asks, I need help with multiple chemical sensitivity. My roommate will not stop spraying her perfume, Lysol, etc. in the house. I'm getting sicker from it. Is there a source energy medicine for multiple chemical sensitivities, otherwise known as MCS? So there's a couple of things here, Amana. One would be with all challenge in general, so I'm going beyond MCS, I'm talking about challenge in general. When the physical aspect of our being is calibrated below 200, I have a different, I'll use Francois as an example. When Francois' physical aspect calibrates below 200, then the things like chemicals will be a different experience. Things, all sensitivities, in fact, sensitivities for like slow energy, toxic energy, I'm not saying that word right, noxious energy, is different below 200 versus above 200. And if you don't understand calibrations and energy levels, if there too, when we're done here, if you go to YouTube and you search for source energy medicine, energy levels, or calibrated energy levels, there's a video where I explain that. I don't know how far you've gotten in our fundamentals workshops, but that to me is the biggest game changer, right? So having the physical aspect calibrated above 200. Now, these days, it's challenging to be working on transforming our energy level, because the things that create that can slow the progress or have my energy level be like a roller coaster are stress, fear, trauma, and harsh judgments. So yeah, it's hard to not experience any of those these days. So it's energy level progression fusion number 1. That is the charging label, right? The source energy medicine charging label that we use to transform our energy level from wherever it is to our ideal energy level, and not just physical aspect, but every aspect of our being. So the suggested, it's a fusion, and so the suggested amount would be 8 to 16 ounces. These days, with as much fear and stress and trauma and, harsh judgments are controlled by me, regulated by me, and yet it's hard to not have a lot of harsh judgments these days with everything that's going on way beyond COVID-19 and the social, racial injustice and there's so much going on, right? Economically, environmentally. So 8 to 16 ounces, it depends on how much water you're drinking a day. More would be helpful, as long as it's not going to overtax your excretory system. And the non-material aspect of source energy medicine is the fastest way to be able to have that transformation. And in these SEM Mondays, group energy healing sessions, my primary intention is to help to support you to reach your ideal energy level. So rewatching the replay to any of the SEM Mondays once or twice or 3 times a day, what I'm hearing from a lot of people has been very, very, very helpful. Beyond that, Transformation Fusion number 3, or TF3, would be a fantastic support, because there are so many things that contribute to multiple chemical sensitivities that are actually included in TF3. So in a single charging label, you are addressing so many of the challenges that would lead to MCS. Primarily, residues. It's actually a toxic buildup in the body that typically leads to that sensitivity, which seems kind of odd. And conversely, if that is not true, then there are other things as well, right? So, looking at what is in TF3, and let me just pull up a list here real quick, and I'll run through it. So TF3 has 13 different source energy medicines, including transformations of bacteria, virus, parasites, fungus and mold, chemicals, heavy metals, trauma, stress, cancer cell, slow energy, dis-ease, residue, and dead or used hormones, and cholesterol. So, the ones that stand out the most and I think would be most helpful are T5, right? So you don't have to take these separate, but they might be helpful too. T5, chemical transformation, certainly T7, trauma, T8 for stress, and T12, which is an interesting one because the intention of T12 is to transform all residues, right? Residues come in hundreds of different varieties that we can experience them, but typically it's a residue of something that leads to a sensitivity, whether it's a food allergy or multiple chemical sensitivity or electromagnetic field sensitivity. They're all very related, and usually it's because of a residue. So in addition to that, T19 for lymph blockage transformation would be the other one that really stands out the most in my mind for all of this. And I think it's a really brilliant and beautiful question, Amana, because these days, even in going into like, an organic store, they're using so much stuff that is actually helping to. So a lot of the products that we use to so for the last, I don't know, 25, 30 years, we've waged a war against bacteria. We have antibacterial everything. And just recently, it became, it was discovered that not all bacteria are bad. And in fact, our bodies actually need friendly bacteria, healthy bacteria to help to digest our food, help our brains to function, to have a healthy mouth, right? Oral health is completely dependent on having healthy bacteria, friendly bacteria in a mouth. So all of these antibacterial things have helped to kill our microbiome, which is what the friendly bacteria are called. And, so this goes way, 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 way beyond just the I think, overprescription of antibiotics. But, you could have not taken antibiotics for the last 30 years, and you still might not have a healthy microbiome. So there are a lot of other things too. And I created a video inside of our fundamentals workshops where I talk about the microbiome and the challenges that we all face. And there's some really, really, really good documentaries these days. I'm having a hard time remembering the interconnected. My friend and colleague, Dr. Pedram Shojai, he's an amazing healer, facilitator, who transitioned to making documentary films, mostly about health and well-being. And he recently produced one called Interconnected. It's all about the connection between our food and our soil and our microbiome and healthy, friendly bacteria. So I hope some of that is helpful, certainly to you, Amana, but also just in general, right? Because it's hard to avoid all of these chemicals and sprays and cleaners and stuff that is really, I think, being overly used. And I was listening to Terry Gross's show on NPR, and she had Dr. Osterholm, who's an epidemiologist from Minnesota, on a week or two ago. And if any of this is interesting to you, I strongly encourage you to just Google NPR Terry Gross. I don't know how you spell Dr. Osterholm, but it's You'll see it. I believe it's a week or two old at this point. Minnesota epidemiologist. He's a very famous epidemiologist. Has a book. I mean, he'd been predicting that we were heading towards a pandemic for years, and his publisher just encouraged him to re-release his book, and he wrote a new foreword that's all about COVID-19. But one of the reasons why I say that is because, according to Dr. Osterholm, he says that he's not concerned about his mail or his FedEx packages or UPS packages or touching doorknobs or chair rails or handrails any more than he would for common cold or things like that. He said COVID-19 in very, 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 very rare cases will be transmitted from touching a surface and then touching your eyes or scratching your nose or something like that. And it's primarily going to be transmitted through breathing, right? So if someone coughs or sneezes, the particles stay in the air, and inhaling them is really the only way that you're going to get it. So he said that a lot of what we're doing with wiping everything, with all these anti-stuff wipes and cleaners, were actually helping to exacerbate other problems, like really depleting our microbiome, depleting our immune system, depleting our own defenses, and then we end up getting these superbugs. So I think it's interesting, and I love that it's coming from a very highly regarded, highly respected epidemiologist. So it's not fringe thought. It's not, he's basing everything on science and on studies that have been done, right? So, and the other reason why I mentioned that is because for me, just from having heard that interview, and I've listened to it 2 or 3 times now, shared it with Valerie, and it's just so comforting to know that I don't have to worry about my mail. I don't have to worry about FedEx packages. I don't have to worry about UPS packages. I don't have to worry about the stuff that I'm picking up at the organic co-op or Whole Foods or any of that stuff any more than I would before COVID-19. So he's not saying don't wash your hands. Yes, wash your hands, but no more necessarily than you would have before this, right? So before this, hopefully use common sense. You go to Whole Foods, you come out, you wash your hands, or you come home, you wash your hands, right? I think just that alone will help to reduce the stress and the fear. And I'll ask Milo, who does all of our tech support, to include a link in the description below this video. So if you're watching this in replay, you'll be able to find the Terry Gross and Dr. Osterholm, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, interview. It's awesome. It's a lengthy interview, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and get things set up for doing the group energy healing session. A lot of people like to offer. So I'm open to healing requests, right? A lot of people like that, and I get it. It's not essential for me to know what your goal is or what your challenge is, and yet for a lot of people, communicating that to me in some way is important in their healing process, and in their perspective of healing, right? So very often people type in healing requests into the chat, which is totally awesome. It's fine. However, keep in mind, as YouTube warns you, this is a public forum. It's an open chat. It's not moderated, and I do greatly appreciate everyone's care and kind consideration and respect of me and each other, and Milo too. My gosh, that guy is a saint. So just be aware, if you have a healing request and it's a sensitive issue or something that you would prefer to keep private, you can email it to me, right? If you're in the quick start guide, you can send that to me. You can post that in there. The quick start guide is our private platform, right? So if you post something in the quick start guide, it stays in the quick start guide or one of our online workshops, right? So every time I get geared up for doing this, I always think of my life before Source Energy Medicine, which is so different from my life since Source Energy Medicine, since 2004, 2005. And I used to think that, I look at the challenges that I experienced. Some were thought to be acquired, some were thought to be inherited, some I thought were simple, easy, not, should be, not take a lot of work or time or energy or effort, and others I thought it was going to take a lot of work and time and effort and energy and great expense and traveling and things like that. There's a teaching from A Course in Miracles that basically states that there is no order of difficulty when it comes to miracles. And the deeper story behind that is, if you know anything about Source Energy Medicine, you are always healing yourself, whether you're using charging labels or in the energy healing methodology, the non-material aspect. Certainly, the technology in Source Energy Medicine is helping, right? It's transforming, but what it's transforming is actually that which is preventing you from being self-balancing, self-healing, and self-correcting. And I believe that it is the source of all creation that is part of every living thing, really everything on this planet. And in humans, it is that divinity, right, the source of all creation, the same source that created you, that is responsible for healing. So yes, you are healing yourself, and very specifically, it's that divine part of you, right? It's that part of your soul, part of your higher self, part of the eternal aspect of your being. And to the source of all creation, there's nothing hard, there's nothing difficult, there's nothing that's going to take effort or energy. I love just the simple version. There's no order of difficulty when it comes to miracles, and yet, unless you're a Course in Miracles student, you probably wouldn't understand why. Because until I became a student of Course in Miracles, I didn't get that. I still looked at things that were acquired as easier than things that were inherited, and it's so not true. And it doesn't matter what area of life the challenge is in, right? Whether it's financially or in relationships or in community, career, creativity, mental, physical, emotional, it doesn't matter. It's essentially all the same. And what A Course in Miracles teaches us is that our job is not to seek love, and I'm going to insert a piece here and take the same teaching and apply it to healing. Our job is not to seek healing, but to seek that which would prevent me from being self-balancing, self-healing, and self-correcting. The teaching from A Course in Miracles states that my job is not to seek love, but to seek that which would prevent me from fully expressing love and receiving love fully. So it's this resistance that is the biggest challenge. So many people get caught up in pathogens and physiology and organs and functions and systems, and I've gone down a rabbit hole so many times for so many years before Source Energy Medicine. That was my entire life. That was my entire research, going deeper and deeper and deeper into anatomy and physiology and pathology, and trying to understand disease and imbalance from that perspective. And it's from my perspective, it's completely futile. Looking at what is the resistance, what's blocking, what's preventing me from having a fully vibrant, healthy life in every regard and in every aspect of my life. So, no order of difficulty when it comes to miracles. So when you're thinking about your goal or your challenge, think big, in terms of like what's bugging you the most, or what would you like to achieve, accomplish, or experience the most. You don't have to start small and work your way up, right? It's not like being completely out of shape and wanting to run a marathon. Like that takes, baby steps, right? Walking before you start jogging. Otherwise, you're going to be in some serious pain. So I love that within Source Energy Medicine, it's completely without pain. It's completely free of catharsis or drama. No healing reaction, no healing crisis. Things don't get worse before they get better. So I turn my camera off when I do this. So what I'm doing isn't distracting to you. There'll be a title slide up and there'll be some chanting in the background. The chanting has nothing to do with the energy work. It's simply to let you know that something is going on that I haven't our connection was not interrupted. So if anyone has any questions before we get going, specifically about the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, please go ahead and type that in. I'm going to go ahead and get things set here. And, oh, that's awesome. Krista, who I saw, so Krista heard the Terry Gross and Dr. Michael Osterholm's interview, and she actually also a couple of comments down has his name spelled, and he's an epidemiologist. So thank you, Krista, for that. That's really, really awesome. And you know, again, I'll ask Milo to include a direct link to that replay. And so as we get ready, I invite you to take a nice deep breath. And as you get comfortable, you know, please use common sense, right? If you're driving or doing something, sitting in a hot tub or floating in a swimming pool, might not be the best environment to experience this, right? So use common sense. If it's not safe for you to close your eyes, please don't close your eyes. If you're sitting in a hot tub, maybe wait till you're out. And, you know, I like to, when I experience the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, I like to create sacred space around it, which simply means bringing some reverence to it, right? I am working with the source of all creation. I'm working with the source that created me, the source that created you. And, you know, I might be a little conservative in that, but I tend to be very respectful around the source of all creation. I try and be respectful around everyone because I see you as that, right, as much as possible. So I think, you know, honoring the healing process and, you know, knowing that whatever difficulty, whatever challenge you might have created unconsciously, you know, you're so powerful, you can unconsciously create difficulty or challenge or dis-ease. If you're that powerful to do that, then transforming, balancing, and restoring, right, literally healing all of that is equally within your power, and probably a whole lot easier than the other. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath and get comfortable. Simply allow and receive. And as much as possible, just trust the process. Know that there is divine orchestration that led you to this moment in this time. Everything that you've ever learned or read or studied, every experience is helping to prepare you to receive now and to step into the greatness that you were created to be. To come fully empowered, fully healed, free of guilt, free of sin, completely innocent, eternal. Wrapped in a warm blanket of unconditional love and peace, the kind of peace that transcends the mortal realm. There's nothing to do. Simply breathe comfortably and allow and receive. take a nice deep breath and wiggle your fingers and toes gently. Feel the gentle pressure of your clothes against your skin. And take another nice deep breath. And if your eyes are closed, please go ahead and slowly blink them open. And come on back and join me live here on YouTube or in replay. You know, it's interesting because every time I do a non-material source energy medicine session, it's different, whether it's, you know, a mini session like this on SEM Mondays, or working one-on-one, or within one of our online workshops. We do different group sessions, different times for different things with different intentions, and you know, each one feels completely different to me. It feels you know, I often say, you know, when you watch a replay, it doesn't matter which one you watch. And on one hand, it really doesn't, right? So if you have a different goal, different challenge, want to experience it again, or you want to watch 2 or 3 a day to help to support you to keep your energy level as high as possible, which is the key to staying healthy. It's the key to everything, literally. And yet each one is different, each one is unique. So as you become more and more familiar with the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, I encourage you to see, you know, on my end, what I do in the SEM Mondays group sessions is very similar, and yet each one feels different, which is, it intrigues me, right? It makes me curious about that. Why is that? I know that a big part of that is it has to do with each one has its own morphic field. And I don't want to get into the whole conversation around what morphic fields are, but they're energy fields of potentiality. And the non-material aspect of source energy medicine has its own morphic field. And then every time that I or one of our practitioners engage in sharing this work with another or a group, we're creating our own morphic field within that morphic field, if you will. And that morphic field expands with each person who experiences this. 10 years from now, the morphic field will be different than it is today, and yet when I am doing this work, there is no linear time. So the morphic field for this session is essentially as good as it's going to get, right? It's not going to be better in 10 years than it is today. And yet each one is different because each one is experienced by a different group of people, a different group of you know, people who are each calibrated in a different place. So I love that each one does create unlimited potential and possibility, and each one is a little bit different. So I think the more sensitive you are, the more aware you are, and the more experienced that you are with the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, I think you'll begin to notice, right, subtle differences between this one and that one, and which ones might be kind of your go-to, if you will. There are some sessions that are part of the special master class that we produced back in March to support folks during this pandemic, and there's a series of non-material sessions that we did in there. I think there were 5 of them, and there are a lot of folks from that master class who continue to go back and watch them all sequentially. And a lot of the feedback on that has been really, really, really quite fantastic and wonderful. So I will not be available next Monday, so we won't have some Mondays live next Monday. God willing, we will release a new video to our YouTube channel. It's one that I'm quite fond of. I've wanted to make this video for quite a long time, and the title is Love All We Need. But it's really about, you know, when Dr. Emoto became very, very popular, mostly thanks to the film What the Bleep Do We Know, people were putting love stickers on their water bottles and gratitude stickers on their water bottles. And you know, I remember when I discovered that, and I knew about Dr. Emoto's work, years before What the Bleep came out, and I thought love was all we needed. And there's more to the story than that, and that's what this video is all about. So, I will, God willing, see you back here live, same time, 2 weeks from today. Between now and then, I really do encourage you to check out some of the replays of this. I'm perfectly fine with you fast forwarding to the energy healing part. I wish we could put like a little chapter mark or something on that so you could just fast forward to that, or jump forward and re-experience that. And I love to see your comments, how this work landed for you, right? What's your experience in terms of anything that's tangible, measurable, visceral, right? So whether you're watching this live or in replay, or maybe it's a day or 2 or 3 from now that you realized how this work is, this opportunity is being experienced by you, please come back and leave a comment below this. And if you're watching this in replay and you have questions, you could always leave questions in the comment box there. Definitely subscribing, click that awesome bell icon so you'll be notified by YouTube when I'm live or when I upload a new video to our channel. It certainly is the best way for me to be able to continue to help you. And if you find this helpful, YouTube makes it so easy to share videos. All you have to do is click on the share link and follow the prompts. I think now I saw a comment just as I was coming back from Indira, who shares, "Hi Stephen, I was wondering if there are any source energy medicine to help with feeling lonely, isolated, and sometimes depressed with all that's happening in the world now." And Indira, so this is a very touching thing for me, right? So if you have been taking source energy medicine for some time and you're following the sample protocol, honestly, beyond that and the things that I mentioned earlier, right? Extra TF3, transformation stress, transformation trauma, but get connected, right? Don't socially isolate. Physically distance, yes, but don't socially isolate. Get on Zoom, get on Google Hangouts, connect with your friends, your family. Find communities on Facebook that are supportive and uplifting, inspiring, meditation groups, yoga groups. We have a couple of Facebook groups. Stay connected. Don't isolate. One thing that Dr. Osterholm very strongly spoke to in that interview with Terry Gross on NPR is that COVID-19 is not going away. We are going to have to learn how to live with it, which means I can't stay home for 2 years, right? I can't stay home like, most people, I think it was around in the U.S. Memorial Day holiday was the end of May, and there were a lot of people, a lot of reporters who were saying that Dr. Osterholm actually, there's a thing called, I forget the exact term, but it's like pandemic stress or something like that, where we're just done, right? And then those people who say that I'm done with this are going out and not socially distancing, not wearing masks, not following any of the suggested guidelines to kind of get their old life back. And you know what? None of us are getting our old life back. Life moving forward is going to be different. So we have to learn how to connect socially. We have to learn how to engage with friends, family, community in ways that are safe, right? In ways that are also enriching and fulfilling and rewarding. I am super introvert. Like, my nature is so introverted. And it's very, very, very easy for me to now just to completely hide, disconnect from all of my friends and those who I typically don't hide from. And it's not a good thing, right? Even extreme introverts are still social creatures, right? I crave good, deep, meaningful connection and conversation and community. So it's I think it's Indira, you certainly have touched my heart, and I think it's something that we each need to find, right? How do we find our ways to connect, our ways to stay fulfilled, our ways to stay engaged. And honestly, one of the easiest ways is to find someone who you can help, right? Turn the attention outward. Who do you know who you can help to uplift, who you can help to inspire, who do you know is having a tough time these days? So be kind, be generous, be gracious, be polite, be loving. We need more of that, more tolerance, more really seeing the divinity in the other. On that note, I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy Medicine. God willing, I'll see you back here live in 2 weeks. And next Monday, keep an eye out for that video on our YouTube channel. It's all about, is love all we need? Bye for now.